Yeah, I think he's a great fight. Obviously, I've known Shakur from the amateur days. You know, I've sparred him over the years in Colorado when, you know, I was over there on training camps and stuff. So, you know, Shakur's a great fighter, so is Teo. You know, and I really think it is a 50-50 fight, but I think I'd have to...
Dalton Smith, despite having a world title shot of his own coming up in just a few days, is making waves in the 140 pounds division. He hasn't just observed Shakur Stevenson from a distance. He's been in the ring with him, throwing punches in Colorado's high-altitude gym. He knows exactly what kind of challenge Teofimo Lopez is about to face. Smith isn't sugarcoating anything or playing political games. He's speaking with brutal honesty, backed by first-hand experience. This isn't just a prediction, it's a warning. Smith's right, Teofimo isn't just facing a tough opponent. He's walking right into a well-executed trap that he won't be able to punch his way out of it.
People think the fight with Teo is either going to be you delivering a masterclass
or a knockout by Teo.
Yeah, or you getting into some type of brawl with Teo and end up getting knocked out, right? What are fans getting wrong about the matchup?
I think the fans is getting wrong about the matchup is where I'm not sleeping on that I know about Teo. Teo's a good boxer. Mm-hmm. He's boxer first. So we could say, oh, he's just going to knock you out. Or he's just going to... That's not him. He's boxing first. He's going to want to establish distance and range on the outside and try to beat me up on the outside. So I think that's the main thing. And also the biggest thing that everybody don't realize with me, I could punch. Mm-hmm. Everybody say, oh, he can't punch, and then boom, crack somebody, and then they laying down, or something may happen to where they hurt or something like that. So I think that's two big things where they don't understand.
Dalton Smith isn't the kind of fighter who drops big names just for attention. He's a true technician, a fighter's fighter, and right now, he's one of the few with real insight into what happens when the cameras stop rolling. In a revealing recent interview, Smith was asked the question that has split the boxing world down the middle. What happens when the takeover collides with the technician? Most analysts call it a dead even matchup, a coin flip between Teofimo's explosive power and Shakur's defensive brilliance.
Shakur's a great talent, and Teofimo looked great in his last fight. Of course, he didn't have Shakur in front of him, but I think that for Shakur, he has to keep the fight at his distance. If he does that, I think it's a win for him. Teofimo, he's more, he wants to draw you and he wants to counterpunch. He's gonna have to be a different guy this time. He's gonna have to attack. He's gonna have to be leading the fight, or else it's gonna be a boring fight. I don't think it'll be a boring fight, but if he sits back and waits for Shakur's gonna wait for him, then it's not gonna be exciting. But I think Teofimo will attack. I think Teofimo has to attack. I think Teofimo has to do what Zepeda did, except for Teofimo's a lot more talented than Zepeda was. So I think that I honestly, I see a draw. I don't know why I see a draw, but I just see them both having great rounds and giving us the kind of fight that I think the public is looking for.
Dalton Smith didn't hesitate. Despite respecting Teofimo Lopez's power, he clearly favors Shakur Stevenson. Coming from a rival in the same division, it's a major statement. Smith sees the levels, the IQ, and the traps Shakur Stevenson believes Teofimo is walking into a masterclass he can't punch his way out of.
The upcoming bout between Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, right? It's a fight that everybody's waiting to see. You know, what are your thoughts on that fight? How do you see that fight playing out, and who do you have and why, bro? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. Obviously, I've known Shakur from the amateur days. You know, I've sparred him over the years in Colorado when, you know, I was over there on training camps and stuff. So, you know, Shakur's a great fighter, so is Teo. You know, and I really think it is a 50-50 fight, but I think I'd have to favour Shakur.
So where does Smith's confidence come from? History? While they haven't met under the bright lights, Smith and Shakur have shared the ring where the truth always comes out, the gym. Smith revealed he trained in Colorado's high-altitude proving ground, sparring rounds with Stevenson. Respecting boxing's unwritten code, he didn't share footage or details, but his words said enough. He called Shakur.
That's fire, bro. That's fire. You see, and that's stuff that a lot of us and even fans, we don't know that. You know, when you guys spar, you guys don't drop no videos to let us know that you guys are doing your thing.
Exactly. Yeah, sparring's kept in the gym. You know, like you said, that you know you have to be a true professional.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. But you know, if you don't mind me asking, can you give us a little insight? How is it sparring with Shakur Stevenson? You know, a guy like that.
Yeah, it was good. like I said, Shakur's always been a great fighter. Obviously, I've always held my own in any sports. You know what I mean? That's why I'm world level. But Shakur is an unbelievable fighter. What he's achieved through the amateurs as a professional. He's a good guy. I remember seeing him after his last fight against Cepeda. I was there. I had a catch up, I had a picture and stuff with him. So Shakur's a good guy. And I'm favouring him in the Teo fight.
There you go, guys.
An unbelievable fighter high praise that speaks to elite skill you don't fully understand until you feel it. Smith saw the elusiveness, the suffocating defense, the control of range. And after experiencing that in thin air, he's convinced Teofimo Lopez is in for a long, frustrating night.
He's gonna put away with the victory just based off being disciplined. At this level, they both skill for skill. They both got skills. You can't take that away from them. But at this level, it's all about the small details. Who's disciplined? Who's able to focus throughout the whole fight, and just based off of they past fights, you kind of see Teo sometimes discipline, but Shakur, he could stay locked in for the 12 rounds. He could stick to his game plan for the 12 rounds, and I feel like that's what's going to separate the winner from the loser, and I feel like Shakur going to be.
And that contrast is exactly what makes this warning so unsettling for Lopez fans. Teofimo has been outspoken about his belief that every fight is different, often pushing back against critics who question his consistency. He fights on emotion, instinct, and fight-changing power. But Smith's breakdown suggests that instinct alone won't be enough against a computer-like mind in the ring. By siding with Shakur, Smith is essentially saying that consistency beats volatility.
Would Teofimo knock out Shakur? No. Can Teo adjust to the point where he beats Shakur? Yeah. You don't see how? Shakur hates slick and economic boxers. So does Teo. They both hate what each other are. Shakur looks great against volume punchers. De Los Santos sitting back and not being active, Shakur doesn't look good. That's when they say he's boring. The thing is, Teofimo Lopez is an excellent fighter. He beat Josh Taylor and Lomachenko. How did he beat Lomachenko? By being patient. Y'all sleeping on Teo. And it's at 140. Now, the thing what's wrong with Teo is Teo also looks good as a counter puncher when you are a volume puncher too. Another thing is Teo looks very great when he's dialed in. He fights more athletic than Shakur. Shakur fights far more technically sound, and he's a more gifted fighter skill-wise. I'm leaning towards Shakur.
Warning isn't physical. Smith doesn't believe Teofimo will get hurt. It's tactical. He points to Shakur's elite amateur pedigree, one of the best of the modern era, combined with his ability to adapt at the pro level. That mix creates a puzzle Teofimo hasn't faced before. Lopez has struggled with movers and boxers in the past. Look no further than the Sander Martin fight hand. Shakur is the ultimate version of that style. Smith sees the writing on the wall. Teofimo needs a knockout to win, while Shakur just needs to be Shakur.
Good. Obviously, last bit of preps of camp now, and yeah, feeling good. Ready to get over there to New York and be crowned a world champion.
Absolutely, man. Dalton, how's your training camp been leading up to the fight against Zubriel Matias? Have you faced any unique challenges or made any special adjustments to your fight game?
Not much, we keep it pretty much the same as we have my whole career. I think each fight I've had from, my debut, I've always brought something new, added, to the artillery. So, like I said, I've had some of the best sparring, invested a lot into my camps to get the best out of me. So, yeah, no complaints. I've had a great camp and ready to go, my mate.
Absolutely.
Dalton Smith has bigger concerns than predicting someone else's fight. He's just days away from the biggest moment of his career, a world title showdown against the dangerous Zubriel Matias. And the road to this fight hasn't just been bumpy, it's been chaotic, just as Smith's camp was reaching its peak. Rumors and allegations began circulating around Matias involving banned substances. In today's boxing landscape, that kind of news can derail a main event instantly.
When it dropped and it came out, the news of the PED drama with Zubriel, did it put you in any sort of fear that the fight was going to be canceled and that this fight wouldn't come about?
Of course, obviously, your first reaction is, my opportunity to fight for the world title is going to be lost. So they're the initial thoughts. But like I said, I just I said to my team, I says, unless we any other news, I says, don't speak to me. I says, I'm going to be in the gym working. And obviously, the fight goes ahead. The fight goes ahead. I'm just going to train as I would before. And like I said, just got on with the job.
Absolutely. You know, and given the controversy, do you have any concerns that Matías, may have the advantage or anything like that? And how are you preparing to ensure that this is a fair fight for both of you guys?
Look, like I said, I leave that to my team to do all the politics stuff. I leave that to them. I'm the fighter. I prepare 100%, get in there and get the job done. So, like you say, I've got no negative thoughts towards it. I fear no man, and my goal is to go in there and become a world champion, and that's what I'm here to do.
Absolutely, man. I would like to know, how have you adapted your training and strategy in light of these, developments, and what can fans expect come the night of the fight?
I expect the best performance of my career. To do it in New York, it's massive. And like you say, it's the pinnacle of boxing. It's what I've worked for from 6 years old, from starting boxing. We're finally here. It's coming to the end of my camp now. We've got just over a week, so I can't wait, man. Ready to go over there and get the job done.
Smith later opened up about the mental toll it took on him, admitting there was a real fear the fight might be scrapped.